birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. President. Happy birthday to you.
May 19th, 1962, Madison Square Garden, New York City. 15,000 people packed into the arena. Politicians, celebrities, the most powerful people in America. They were all there for one reason: to celebrate President John F. Kennedy's 45th birthday. But they were really there to see her. Marilyn Monroe. The moment she stepped onto that stage, she became the most desired woman in the room. Hell, the most desired woman in America. Men in tuxedos surrounded her, their eyes hungry, their smiles predatory. Camera flashes exploded like stars. The crowd roared. Everyone wanted her. Everyone. But in that moment, standing in the spotlight with a microphone in her hand, wearing a dress that made her look naked, Marilyn Monroe had never felt more alone. Because there was only one man she wanted, and he could never really be hers. This is the true story of that night. The night Marilyn Monroe sang happy birthday to a president. The night she stood in front of thousands and declared her love to a man who would betray her. The night that would lead to her death 77 days later. Let's go back. Let's go to that moment when the whole world wanted Marilyn Monroe, but nobody knew who she really was, 10 hours earlier. Marilyn's hotel room at the Park Sheraton Hotel, New York. She stood in front of the mirror, completely naked, as designer John Louis and his team prepared to sew her into the dress. The gown was a masterpiece. Flesh-colored silk covered in 12,000 rhinestones, so sheer it created an illusion. From a distance, she would look nude. Up close, she would sparkle like a diamond. But the dress had a problem. It wouldn't fit right unless it was wet. "Miss Monroe," Jean Louis said nervously, "we need to soak the fabric and sew you into it while it's damp. It will dry on your body and create the perfect fit. But you won't be able to sit down. You won't be able to use the bathroom. Once you're in this dress, you're in it until the performance is over." Marilyn looked at her reflection. 36 years old, still beautiful, but the cracks were showing. The pills were taking their toll. The alcohol, the heartbreak. "Do it," she said quietly. Jean Louis hesitated. "Miss Monroe, this is extreme. Even for Hollywood. I said do it." Her voice was sharp, desperate. "This dress has to be perfect. Everything has to be perfect tonight. Because this is the last time," she thought. The last time she would see him. The last time she could pretend, even for a moment, that he loved her. As they worked on the dress, soaking it, sewing her into it, Marilyn's mind drifted. She thought about the first time she met Jack Kennedy. It was 1951, 11 years ago. She was a rising starlet. He was a young congressman. They were at a dinner party in Los Angeles. He had that smile, that charm, that way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room. They talked for hours, about books, about politics, about life. He didn't treat her like a dumb blonde. He actually listened, or so she thought. Years later, after he became president, they reconnected. Peter Lawford arranged it. Kennedy's brother-in-law, the perfect middleman. Late-night visits to the Carlisle Hotel, secret phone calls, stolen moments, and Marilyn fell. She fell hard. She fell in love with a man who could never love her back. Because John F. Kennedy didn't love women. He collected them, like trophies, like toys. And Marilyn Monroe was the ultimate prize, the biggest sex symbol in the world in his bed. It fed his ego, his sense of power. But Marilyn wanted more. She wanted love, real love, the kind where someone knows your real name, Norma Jean, and loves that person, not the image. She wanted someone who would hold her when she cried, someone who would stay. But Kennedy was married. He had children. He had a presidency to protect. And Marilyn? She was expendable. "The dress is ready," Jean Louis announced. Marilyn snapped back to reality. She looked down. The wet fabric clung to every curve of her body. The rhinestones caught the light. She looked like a goddess, a very naked goddess. "Perfect," she whispered. Pat Newcomb, her press agent, entered the room. Her face was worried. Marilyn, I just heard. They've pushed your performance to the end of the show. You might not go on until after 10 p.m. And? And the president might leave early. He has to fly back to Washington tonight. There's a chance he won't even be there when you perform. Marilyn felt her chest tighten. After everything, after coming to New York, after this dress, after everything she had sacrificed, he might not even stay. He'll stay, Marilyn said firmly. He has to stay. Marilyn, Pat's voice was gentle, you need to prepare yourself for the possibility that what? That he doesn't care? That I'm just another woman to him? Pat didn't answer. She didn't have to. They both knew the truth. But Marilyn couldn't accept it. Not yet. Not tonight. Tonight she would sing to him. Tonight she would make him see her. Really see her. And maybe, just maybe, he would realize what he was losing. It was 9:45 p.m. Madison Square Garden was electric with anticipation. The show had been going for hours. Stars had performed. Ella Fitzgerald, Maria Callas, Jack Benny, Jimmy Durante. But everyone was waiting for her. Where is she? People whispered. Is she coming? Did she bail? In the VIP section, President Kennedy sat in a box seat. Next to him, an empty chair, Jackie Kennedy's chair. She had refused to come. She knew about Marilyn. Everyone knew. But as long as it stayed in the shadows, as long as it remained unspoken, the illusion could continue. Tonight, Marilyn was about to shatter that illusion. Backstage, Marilyn stood in the wings. Her heart was pounding. The dress was so tight she could barely breathe. The rhinestones felt heavy. Her legs were shaking. She had taken pills to calm her nerves, washed them down with champagne. Not enough to be drunk, but enough to be brave. Peter Lawford, the evening's host, was on stage. And now, ladies and gentlemen, he announced with a sly smile, the late Marilyn Monroe. The crowd erupted in laughter and applause. Late. She was always late. It was part of her mystique, the unreachable star who operated on her own time. But Marilyn knew the truth. She was late because she was terrified. Terrified of walking out there. Terrified of what she was about to do. Terrified of what it would mean. She took a deep breath. Thought about Norma Jean, the little girl in the orphanage who dreamed of being loved. The teenager who was passed from home to home. The young woman who posed nude for a calendar just to pay rent. That girl had survived. And tonight, Marilyn Monroe would survive too. She stepped into the spotlight. The roar was deafening. 15,000 people on their feet. Camera flashes exploding. But Marilyn saw only one thing. The presidential box. And there he was. John F. Kennedy. Watching her. She walked to center stage. Men in tuxedos surrounded her immediately. Security, handlers, photographers. All of them staring. All of them wanting. She could feel their eyes on her body. Could feel them undressing her, even though the dress already did that job. But she didn't care about them. She only cared about him. The music started. A slow, jazzy piano. Marilyn took the microphone. Her hands were trembling. She looked directly at Kennedy, and she began to sing. Happy birthday to you. But it wasn't a normal happy birthday. This was different. This was slow, breathy, sensual, sexual. Each word drawn out like a caress. Each note dripping with longing. Happy birthday to you. The crowd was silent now, stunned. They had expected a performance, but this was something else. This was a woman making love to a man with her voice, in front of the entire world. Happy birthday, Mr. President. She emphasized those words. Mr. President, a reminder, a claim, a declaration. Happy birthday to you. As she sang, men pressed closer, trying to get near her, trying to touch her. Security held them back, but they all wanted her, every single one. She was Marilyn Monroe, the fantasy, the dream, the untouchable goddess who drove men mad. But Marilyn wasn't looking at them. She was looking at Kennedy, and for a moment, just a brief moment, their eyes met. He smiled, that famous Kennedy smile, and Marilyn's heart broke, because she saw it, the truth. In that smile, she saw appreciation, amusement, ego, but not love, never love. The song ended. The crowd exploded, cheering, whistling, applause that seemed to shake the building. Marilyn stood there, surrounded by men in tuxedos, all of them wanting a piece of her, all of them reaching for her, and she had never felt more alone. She handed the microphone back, gave a small wave, and walked off stage. Behind the curtain, away from the cameras, away from the crowd, Marilyn's legs buckled. Pat Newcomb caught her. "You did it," Pat said, excited. "That was incredible. Everyone is talking about it." "Did he stay?" Marilyn asked. Her voice was small, childlike. "What? Did he stay? Did he watch?" "Yes," Pat said gently. "He stayed. He watched every second." Marilyn closed her eyes. Tears threatened to fall, but she held them back. She couldn't cry. Not now. Not here. The makeup would run. The photographers might see. Marilyn Monroe doesn't cry. She smiles. She sparkles. She's perfect. But inside, Norma Jean was screaming. An hour later, the gala was over. VIPs were ushered to a private after-party at the home of Arthur Krim, president of United Artists. Marilyn was invited. Of course she was invited. She was the star of the evening, the woman everyone wanted to be near. She arrived at the townhouse in Manhattan, changed into a different dress, something she could actually move in. The party was intimate, maybe 50 people, politicians, Hollywood executives, Kennedy insiders. And there he was, Jack Kennedy, holding a drink, laughing with a group of men. Marilyn watched him from across the room. He hadn't come to her backstage, hadn't sent a message, nothing. She was just another performance, another moment of entertainment. She grabbed a glass of champagne from a passing waiter, drank it fast, grabbed another. Marilyn, a voice behind her. She turned. It was Bobby Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy, the Attorney General, Jack's younger brother. "That was quite a performance tonight," Bobby said. His tone was friendly, but his eyes were wary. "Thank you," Marilyn said softly. "I sang from the heart." Bobby nodded, looked around to make sure no one was listening, then leaned in close. "Marilyn, you need to be careful. With Jack. With all of this." "What do you mean?" "You know what I mean. The press is already talking, speculating. If this goes any further." "If what goes further?" Marilyn's voice rose slightly. "Bobby, I love him. Do you understand? I actually love him." Bobby's face softened. He looked almost sad. "I know you do, but he's the president, Marilyn. He has responsibilities. He has Jackie. He has his children. We can't let this become public. So I'm just supposed to disappear?" Marilyn's eyes filled with tears. "Just supposed to pretend it never happened? Pretend I don't feel anything?" "I'm not saying that," Bobby said gently. "I'm saying you need to be realistic. Jack cares about you, but his priority is his family and his presidency. That will always be his priority." Marilyn looked past Bobby to where JFK stood. As if sensing her gaze, Kennedy looked up. Their eyes met again, and he smiled. That same smile, the one that meant nothing. "I need air," Marilyn said suddenly. She set down her glass and walked toward the patio door. Outside, the New York night was cool. She stood alone, looking at the city lights, and finally let herself cry. Silent tears running down her face, ruining her makeup. But she didn't care anymore. "Everyone wants me," she whispered to the night. "Everyone wants Marilyn Monroe. But nobody wants Norma Jean. Nobody wants the real me. Nobody knows I exist." She thought about her life, the orphanages, the foster homes, the assault she suffered as a child, the man who touched her when she was 9 years old, the adults who didn't believe her, the marriages that failed because the men wanted a star, not a partner. Joe DiMaggio, who wanted her to quit acting and be a housewife. Arthur Miller, who wanted a muse and got a complicated human being. And now Kennedy, who wanted a mistress, a trophy, a secret. None of them wanted Norma Jean, the scared little girl who just wanted to be loved, to be safe, to matter. The patio door opened behind her. Marilyn quickly wiped her eyes, turned around expecting Pat or Bobby, but it was him, Jack Kennedy. "Mr. President," Marilyn said, trying to compose herself. "Jack," he corrected. "When we're alone, it's Jack." We're never really alone, though, are we? Marilyn's voice had an edge. There's always someone watching, always someone listening, always someone ready to remind me that you have responsibilities. Kennedy moved closer. That was quite a performance tonight. You certainly made an impression. Is that all it was to you? A performance? Marilyn, Kennedy's voice took on that warning tone. Don't. Don't what? Don't have feelings? Don't fall in love with you? Don't want more than a few stolen hours in hotel rooms? Kennedy looked back at the house. Through the windows, they could see the party continuing. His people. His world. A world Marilyn would never truly be part of. You knew what this was, Kennedy said quietly. From the beginning. You knew I couldn't leave Jackie. Couldn't risk my presidency. Knew, Marilyn repeated bitterly. Yes, I knew. But I hoped. I actually believed that maybe, just maybe, I was worth it. Worth what? Worth loving. Worth choosing. Worth more than just late-night phone calls and secret meetings. Kennedy reached out, touched her face gently. Marilyn, you are worth everything. You're extraordinary. I'm what, Jack? I'm beautiful? I'm sexy? I'm Marilyn Monroe? But who is that really? Do you even know? Have you ever asked about Norma Jean? About who I was before? About what happened to me? About why I can't sleep without pills? About why I can't have children? About why I'm so broken? Kennedy withdrew his hand, looked uncomfortable. This was too real, too raw. He liked Marilyn when she was sparkling, when she was the fantasy, not when she was this, not when she was human. I should get back inside, he said. People will notice I'm gone. Of course, Marilyn said coldly. Wouldn't want people to notice. Wouldn't want them to think the president actually cares about Marilyn Monroe. Kennedy paused at the door, looked back at her. One more time. I do care, Marilyn. I do. Just not enough, Marilyn finished for him. Not enough to risk anything real. He didn't deny it, just gave her one last look, that sad Kennedy look, and went back inside, leaving her alone in the darkness. Marilyn stood there for a long time, watching the party through the windows. All those people, all those powerful, important people, and not one of them really knew her. Not one of them cared about the woman behind the image. She thought about going back to her hotel, taking more pills, maybe too many pills. It wouldn't be the first time she'd tried, but something stopped her. A stubborn piece of survival, the same piece that had kept Norma Jean alive through the orphanages, through the assault, through everything. You're going to survive this too, she told herself. You always do, even when you don't want to. She went back inside, pasted on a smile. Let men surround her, let them adore her, let them want her, because that's what Marilyn Monroe did. She performed, even when her heart was breaking, even when she was dying inside. She performed. The party went on until 3 a.m. Kennedy left around midnight. Didn't say goodbye to Marilyn, just disappeared with his Secret Service detail, like she didn't exist, like the song had never happened. When Marilyn finally got back to her hotel room, she stood in front of the mirror in that dress, the dress that had been sewn onto her body, the dress that made her look naked and desired. She thought about what Bobby Kennedy had said. Be realistic. Jack's priority is his family and his presidency. She thought about what she had felt on that stage, surrounded by men who wanted her, performing for one man who would never truly be hers. And she understood something painful and true. Everyone wanted Marilyn Monroe, but Marilyn Monroe wasn't real. She was a creation, a performance, a mask. And underneath that mask was Norma Jean, the broken, hurt, lonely woman who had spent her entire life looking for love and finding only desire, looking for acceptance and finding only objectification, looking for home and finding only stages. She started to cry again, not the silent, pretty tears from earlier. Real sobs, the kind that shook her whole body, the kind that came from deep inside where Norma Jean still lived, still hurt, still hoped. Pat Newcomb knocked on the door. Marilyn, are you okay? I heard crying. I'm fine, Marilyn called out, her voice cracking. Just tired. Do you need anything? Can I help? No, Marilyn said. "Nobody can help. This is something I have to do alone. Always alone." She heard Pat's footsteps retreating down the hall, and then silence. Marilyn looked at herself in the mirror one more time. At Marilyn Monroe, the woman everyone wanted, and she whispered, "I wish someone wanted me, the real me, just once, just for a moment. I wish someone looked past the hair and the dress and the performance and saw Norma Jean and loved her anyway." But that would never happen, because Norma Jean had disappeared so long ago, buried under layers of makeup and performance and survival. And all that was left was Marilyn, beautiful, broken Marilyn, wanted by everyone, known by no one. She took off the dress, took a handful of pills, and went to bed, alone, like always. 77 days later, on August 5th, 1962, Marilyn Monroe was found dead in her Brentwood home. The official cause was listed as probable suicide, acute barbiturate poisoning. She was 36 years old. The last phone call she made was to Peter Lawford. She said she felt tired, said she wanted to say goodbye to the president. Lawford thought she was being dramatic, thought she would sleep it off. He was wrong. When the news broke, the world mourned. Millions of people cried for Marilyn Monroe. They sent flowers. They wrote tributes. They called her a legend, an icon, a goddess. But nobody mourned for Norma Jean, the little girl from the orphanage, the woman who just wanted to be loved, because nobody knew she existed. John F. Kennedy was informed of her death while in Hyannisport. His reaction was reportedly brief. "That's too bad." He asked if there was any evidence linking him to her. When told there wasn't, he seemed relieved. And that was it. No public statement, no acknowledgement of their relationship, nothing. Just another woman who had passed through his life, another name in a long list. Jackie Kennedy never spoke publicly about Marilyn, but those close to her said she wasn't surprised by the death. She had seen Marilyn at events, seen the desperation in her eyes, the hunger for something real. And Jackie, who had her own pain, her own knowledge of her husband's infidelities, felt something like pity, but also relief. The problem had solved itself. Joe DiMaggio, Marilyn's second husband, was the one who truly grieved. He claimed her body, organized the funeral. And for the next 20 years, until his own death, he sent roses to her grave 3 times a week. He never remarried, never stopped loving her. Maybe he was the only one who ever did, but by then it was too late. Today, if you search for Marilyn Monroe, you'll find millions of images. The white dress blowing up, the red lips, the platinum hair, the sultry gaze. You'll find quotes. You'll find merchandise. You'll find a legend, but you won't find Norma Jean, the scared little girl, the hurt woman, the person behind the performance, because that's what we do with our icons. We worship the image. We consume the fantasy, and we forget that underneath it all, there was a human being who just wanted to be loved, to be known, to matter. On that night in May 1962, when Marilyn stood on that stage at Madison Square Garden, surrounded by men in tuxedos, singing to a president who would never choose her, wearing a dress that made her look naked but feel empty, she was telling us something. She was telling us the truth. Everyone wants me, but nobody knows me. Nobody sees me. Nobody loves the real me. We just didn't listen. And 77 days later, she was gone, leaving behind only the performance, only Marilyn Monroe, only the image. And Norma Jean, the woman who just wanted to be loved, died alone, in the darkness, with nobody there to hold her hand, with nobody there to say, "I see you, I know you, I love the real you." That's the tragedy of Marilyn Monroe. Not that she died young, not that she was beautiful, not that she was famous. The tragedy is that she spent her entire life performing. And by the time she was ready to stop, ready to show the world who she really was, it was too late. Nobody was interested in Norma Jean. They only wanted Marilyn. And that's why everyone wanted her. But nobody knew her. And that's why she died, alone.